Well, hello. Happy Tuesday, June 10th. Let's talk Tuesday. I'm excited to be here, and I'm just realizing that I have my doors closed on what is normally my colorful blue multicolor background, and um the doors aren't open. This is my coaching mode, and I did some coaching prior to the session, and so I forgot to turn the lights on and open the doors and go into Let's Talk Tuesday mode. So, yeah, you're getting me in what looks like my barn. So, anyway, it's good to be here, and it's good to be here on a Tuesday. And I don't know if any of you are with us yet. I'm not yet seeing comments. So, hopefully, hopefully you're out there. If not, come join us. Adam, thank you, Adam. You saved the day. Love the barn. Yeah. Hi, Allie. So good to see you. Hi, Grace. Gosh, all the fam is here. I love it. Hi, Katie and Camille. For a second there, I hadn't seen any comments, so it was feeling literally like I was talking to an empty void. So thank you for being here, and thank you for chiming in the comments. I appreciate it. I got the chance to coach with Allie Gibbs, and this time her brother. They're working on a really, really fun short film, and I'm excited for you guys to see it. You guys keep an eye on Allie. She and her brother are very talented, multi-talented, and I won't say much more because it is not my place to share their story, but I just say good things are coming from them, and I've been impressed with how hardworking and talented they are. So hi, Ivy and David. Great to see you. Adam, you're so faithful. Hi, Megan. It's good to have all of you guys here. I've had a full day already, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I started my day because it might be of interest to some of you, and maybe give you some information that you don't necessarily know about. I realize here. I have my barn. I'm dressed all casual. Yeah, you're just getting me hanging out. So this morning at 6:30 a.m. my time, I sat in on a practice pitch session through the Lions Den DFW. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that group, but it's based in Texas, hence the DFW. And again, it's called the Lions Den. If you guys are familiar with like Shark Tank, where it's investors and they take pitches on various different companies and startups and ideas and decide if they want to invest. Well, Lions Den DFW, as I understand it, so I'm not the expert on it, but as I understand it, basically the Lions Den is building a community of creators and investors who are kingdom minded. And I know that sounds very kingdom minded is kind of a churchy sort of way to say basically their hearts are for creating products, companies with a mind towards faith, towards honoring God with what they're doing, with what they're creating, with what they put out into the world, with the desire being to put out, again, products or companies or services or films or creative content that will point people to God and provide opportunity, hopefully, for people to come to faith and to plant seeds and at least get conversations started. So The Lion's Den, it's a community really of kind of both sides of that process. Those who are the creators, the inventors, the entrepreneurs, and then those who are the venture capitalists and investors, and who are looking for potential investment opportunities. And so the Lion's Den kind of pairs those two sides and provides opportunities for them to meet each other and maybe explore if there's partnerships there and investment opportunities. And so I found out about the Lion's Den through ICVM. ICVM stands for International Christian Visual Media, and that's a conference I go to each year. And it's the president of ICVM right now is a very good friend of mine, Paul Sermons, and we've had Paul on Tuesday night before. And so the Lion's Den is dealing in all kinds of companies and products and endeavors and services. And part of that is entertainment and media. So, for example, they invested in the first I Can Only Imagine movie. And so there's the Lion's Den kind of as a collective of investors, but then of course there's individual investors who make their own, sort of independent decisions about what they might support or be a part of. But it's a really wonderful community. And so these days I find myself developing my own project, a project that I have had on my heart and in and out of my sort of hands for 10 years. And we're at a really great place now, and I'm getting ready to step that up in development and try to package it and find a home. And so I'm venturing into territory that I myself haven't done before. I've certainly been alongside other producers who are doing that, and I've had the absolute blessing and joy of working alongside of so many amazing producers and executive producers. But for me, hands-on, this will be my first venture out. So I found out about these practice pitch sessions that they do the second Tuesday of every month, and they're in the morning. So being based in Texas, it's based around Central Time. And so they're 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Central Time, the second Tuesday of every month. You can find out more about them on their website. If you go to thelionsdendfw.com, and then you go to events, one of the things that will come up is practice pitch, and then it talks about the monthly practice pitch sessions. And the next one will be Tuesday, July 8th, again, 7:30 a.m. to 9:30. And all you have to do is, there's no cost, it's totally free. All you have to do is RSVP. It's done virtually. And so you're just in with the group. I think this morning there were like 115, 120 people that were present in the Zoom meeting, and they each practice pitch session. They choose I think two, because this morning was only the second one that I've been a part of or that I've watched, but I believe they choose two each of these practice sessions. And so two different companies will do their pitch for the group as a whole. And then investors from the Lion's Den investor group offer feedback as to what worked in the pitch, what maybe could be improved, what was great and effective, and also what might be missing from their point of view. I've learned so much because when you like I can think something is really clear and it makes total sense to me, but as I'm watching these pitches, the investors will come back and clarify, like, well, that was great and it looked slick, but I want to know specifically what's my return on investment, or what's the pathway to me getting my money back, or what's certain like projections 3 to 5 years out, all this sort of business side. And for us creatives, your I think I'll speak for myself. For us creatives, sometimes we get so wrapped up, especially when we're talking about projects of faith, we get wrapped up in the passion of it and our heart for it. And if we feel like it's something that God's calling us to do or to create, to make, that we lose sight, or can lose sight, of the business side of it. So it's show business, right? Agents, actors, filmmakers, we all need to be able to make enough money that we can keep ourselves going, right? That we can pay for the next project and we can maybe make it a little bigger and a little better. So the business side is important, and we can't just go on our passion and our love of the content or the product or the, whatever the endeavor might be. We have to think business minded. That's successful business endeavors are what keep the wheels churning, allow you to keep moving forward and go from one project to the next project to the next project, as you just roll those proceeds into what's going to happen next. And so I have found it incredibly helpful. It just so happened that the two that I happened to sit in on each had one media-driven project within their presentation. But like the first one I sat in, it was a potential dating connectivity platform that's kind of different than kind of the typical platforms you see out there. And then the second was a film, and it was a team that had a film and a project that they are developing, and they are at the point where they're looking for investment. So they were practicing their pitch for that. And again, it was really interesting because you can create a sizzle with the story, and you can talk about how wonderful it's going to be and all of the heartstrings part and the creative part, but it all boils down to, okay, that's awesome, that's great, but this morning one of the investors said, look, I want to get in and be a part of something that has an impact, move forward, and then at some point I want to get out and then take my resources to another project and help that get off the ground and keep going. So the point is not, it's not a donation. It's not missions work. It's a business approach to hopefully what can be a sustainable creative endeavor. The one this morning was a new potential streaming platform for faith-oriented content. And so it was entertainment, still entertainment driven, but not like a specific film, but more a new platform for accessing media and content, but with a faith element to that, or kind of faith being the key piece. And so it was, again, still interesting. Linda Ray, let me show you, or let me tell you. So the website is The Lions Den, DFW, as in Dallas Fort Worth. I said .com. It's actually .org. So forgive me. The Lions Den, DFW.org, O-R-G. And then across the top, you'll see the headings. If you go to, there's a tab that just says more. and then events. And then under that, you'll see practice pitch. And then that'll take you to a new page that will, if you scroll down, tells you when the next one is going to be, which is July 8th, and the time frame, and then you just RSVP. It doesn't cost anything, and you can basically, what they do is the two entities, companies, partners, whatever it is, present their pitches. The selective investors give feedback on each of those pitches, and then they go into breakout rooms. And so you go into breakout rooms, and that's where you can do questions and answers. This morning happened to be one of the other people who pitched this morning, in addition to the kind of streaming content access platform, was a company out of the UK who has a company geared towards children's early childhood education, development. They've created a set of characters and stories, and their next step is they're looking to go into animation with these characters and the stories they've developed. So it's an educational / entertainment studio entity. And so they pitched as well. So that's the breakout room I happened to go into. And I was asking questions, again, because I'm at that place where I'm thinking towards, okay, what's the kind of information I need to gather and have ready when I'm approaching potential investors to come on board this project, the project that I'm going to be shepherding. And so it was really helpful because I could ask about what her timeline's been. They have been, their company's been in existence for 5 years, and she kind of explained, kind of started with a book and then expanded to the characters and, so on and so forth. But it was really helpful to me to hear their timeline and hear how they, how she sort of, what led from one thing to another, and kind of how they got to where they are now. And at that stage of now looking for that next step. So I wanted to mention this because, I'm a casting director, but I am venturing into something new. I know a lot of you guys out there are also creatives that are potentially looking to develop a script that you have, or you have ideas for businesses, and you are also kingdom-minded in the way that you would be running and operating your business. These don't have to be quote unquote Christian businesses. They're any kind of business, but what this particular group of investors is looking for is that, what is the impact? What is the potential, what they say, kingdom impact? How is your endeavor, your product, your, whatever it is, how is it going to have a social and spiritual faith impact out in the world? Because that's what these investors want their money to go towards. So I mentioned it. I thought it was super interesting. It happens every month. I learned a lot. And so I know we have a lot of you guys who are business people, who have ideas, who have things you've been developing. And so I just wanted to share that with you as another opportunity to maybe learn something. I certainly have. And while every month is not a creative or media or entertainment oriented pitch, I still think there's a lot we can learn just in understanding the mindset of the investor, what they're looking for, what's important to them as they're listening and considering what they might invest in. So anyway, that's the Lion's Den DFW. And you can go to the website and you can learn more about the practice pitch sessions, again, second Tuesday of every month. And I might see you on there, right? I'll see you in the crowd of faces that I see in attendance. There's also a chat that goes on simultaneously. So you see some people chiming in with information they have, or again, asking questions. So just point it out as another resource. Someone shared it with me, so I'm sharing it with you. Okay, so Linda Ray, I hope that is Linda Ray. I don't know that I've seen the full Linda Ray. Linda, it's great I hope it's helpful. And yeah, super interesting. Just from a always be learning kind of a standpoint as well. So Allie, yes, see, Allie, young content creator, creative storyteller, you're just starting out and you have so much ahead of you. So yeah, think big. If God wants that door open, it will be opened. So we got to just be brave enough and confident enough and prepared enough to walk through the doors that open. So that's our responsibility. Adam, that's great. I've been wanting to get more into the side of filmmaking too. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and you never know because I don't know, as far as like my project, I don't know that I'm not necessarily saying that I will pitch to them. I don't know that they're necessarily the right place for what I'm doing. They may be, but I'm learning about pitching in general, just what works, what doesn't, what catches their eye, because there's visuals. Each person, I think, creates a 5-minute pitch presentation, and so it's interesting when you see the various visuals, or like a PowerPoint presentation or a teaser video or something that has been created. Even just as the consumer, it's interesting that I'm noticing what works better for me and what maybe I find a little more difficult to stay engaged, or maybe a little too busy visually. So I just have found it very, very helpful. So I pass that along to you. It's my gift. That's my Tuesday gift to you. All right. Any questions you guys have today? I don't know if so far I'm not seeing any, but that's because I kind of just started talking and was going off on my Lion's Den experience. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I've been really, really enjoying my coaching sessions. And, we've been covering a lot of different things in those sessions. And I love the diversity of that. So, and even when we're doing going over the headshots, going over the reels, the great thing about that is that it's individualized with each of the actors that I'm working with. And so, yes, there are some broad sorts of parameters or guidelines that I share, but really it's about getting in and being specific for what is working for that actor, for their kind of package. We've talked a lot about kind of how do you maybe expand to some of the other markets. And again, that's kind of each unique to each person as far as where they are now, kind of where they see themselves going. Are they in a place where they can move? Are they not? There's a lot of things that we can talk about there. With Allie, I've had the joy of giving feedback on a project that she and her brother have created. And so that's been really fun too, a totally different application of the coaching opportunity. So that's been good. And so really, if you find yourself if you have a project, you have a project that you're finishing, or you want another set of eyes on it to give feedback, or regarding editing or performance or any of those things, I'm happy to do that. Really, my goal with the coaching is to take the 30 years, almost 31 years of experience that I have, and share it with you guys in a way that's helpful specifically to you. So if that's helping on a project you're working on, great. If that's going over your materials and speaking to what can be strengthened and, what's working, what's not, that's great. I've been also having the joy of actually doing work on scene work and monologue work, coaching some auditions where we're just going through the material and kind of diving into that. I had a great session earlier today with someone who kind of has gotten a little pigeonholed in a certain area. And so I challenged her. Well, she challenged herself to pick a scene or a piece that was where she wants to be, like the kinds of material she really sees herself doing and capable of doing, but isn't often given the opportunity to do. And so we wanted to kind of dive into like, why is that happening? And so we had a really great time, because it's interesting. The first time we went through the scene she had chosen, she kind of played it a little closer to what has been more typical for her. Then we talked about that and broke it down as to why it was coming across a certain way and how could we switch that up and how do we kind of change the intention behind things. And by the end of it, it was a completely different scene. It was so fun to kind of see her realize how different it felt for her internally, and then the result of it coming to me, as an observer. So it was really, it's just been really fun. I just love that each is individual. So I'm here if you guys want to do that, or, want to spend some time doing any of those things. But I'm just really excited to get to know some of you a little bit more and hear about and see what you're doing. Allie, you are super, super kind. And I genuinely have had a great time. I'm really, really excited and impressed with what Allie and her brother are doing. So, yes, Rod, I got to coach with Rod as well, and had a wonderful time. And Adam, we've been able to coach. I really have enjoyed each and every time. So, on Tuesday nights, of course, I try to give you information, of course, answer your questions, but there's no way for me to really be as specific as I'd like to be for each one of you. So that's really how the coaching was born, was a way to be more individualized with the information that I'm giving. So, okay. So again, I'm not seeing any questions tonight. So tonight might be kind of a shorter one, which is okay. That's all right, because I started very early this morning. We have a question. Adam, you are awesome. I loved our session. Okay, how do you discern when God is telling you to say no to accepting a project in casting? Well, I think it's probably very similar to the process you go through as an actor trying to decide what projects you might take a pass on. Prayer is a part of that. My now husband, he is not in the business. He is not in entertainment. So he grounds me and my decision-making in a way that is more geared towards like how it will affect me. Like, will it make me too busy or too crazy? Will it be something that is going to kind of, is the timing right as far as my workload? Also just sort of asking the right questions to help me think maybe differently about a project, whether that's leaning towards doing it or leaning away from doing it. So I would encourage you to have the same, whether it's a spouse or a friend or, a colleague. Well, actually not a colleague. I would say people who the entertainment business side of who you are and what you do is really not their primary interest. Their primary interest is you as a person, your mental health, your life balance, your spiritual health. That's their primary concern or care for you. It's important to have those people in your life because they do give you a different perspective. Just like I was talking about with the Lions Den and pitching, we get so passionate about something, and sometimes there's things that are hard to say no to. I want to say yes. I've made some very difficult choices with projects that I really wanted to do, but I realized that it wasn't the right project at the right time. So it had nothing to do about the project. I just finally came to understand that it wasn't the right project at the right time, and that I didn't have a peace about it. And I'm really big on, I just really know, and I've experienced that sense of God's confirmation through a sense of peace. And scripturally, my absolute favorite scriptures, Philippians 4, 6, and 7, be anxious about, this is kind of paraphrased, but be anxious about nothing, but in everything with thanksgiving, with thanksgiving, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So what's amazing about that scripture for me is he doesn't say, present your requests with thanksgiving and I'll make it all clear to you. He doesn't say, I'll answer all your questions. He doesn't say, I'll give you everything that you've asked for. The scripture doesn't say any of that. What the scripture promises is peace, a peace that surpasses understanding, that isn't logical. So that's kind of an example when I talk about walking away from a project that on paper looks fantastic. The people are great, the premise is good, the intentions and what they want to do with it are wonderful. So logically, you would think I would have a peace about that, but I don't. And so the decision to not move forward on a project like that, and then getting the peace that I was looking for, it isn't logical, but that's, for me, I've experienced that as God's confirmation that I've made the right decision. So that's huge for me. And I just think it's important to have people in your circle, your close circle, who are both in entertainment industry minded and understand that world and can counsel you and give you feedback and guidance within the context of the business. And then those people who don't give a rip about the business and just care about you. And of course, ultimately seeking God's wisdom, his counsel, on all of it. And I do believe that his peace is a promise. That's in that scripture. That's the only thing he promised, is the peace, not the answers, not the clarity, not everything you want coming to you. He says, I'll give you peace. And when you experience that kind of peace, it actually is so, it's like just a breath, affirming, and you don't have to struggle and, like the scripture says, be anxious about nothing. So that's my answer to that. Let's see. Ali, looking forward to Creative Exchange. How should attendees prepare for that? Great question. I would tell you, for the monologue portion of it, or the performance side of it, choose material you really connect with. Choose material that you really can dive into and dig into. And that doesn't necessarily mean just drama. You can dive in and dig into comedic content as well, but make sure it's something that you really can connect to, understand, see a version that feels right and real and authentic for you. Don't choose material based on what you think we want to see, and don't choose material based on what you think will be a crowd pleaser. Okay. Sometimes people want, well, I'll do a comedy because everyone will laugh and I'll make them feel good. Well, if it's not a piece that is your best work, or that you really can organically dive into and get into and peel back the layers on, then you're kind of missing the point of the time together. So I just view that as a missed opportunity. So don't worry about what you think the audience will want to see or what we want to see. Just find those pieces that you want to really dig into and have some fun with and explore. That's what I would say. And then come with questions. When it gets closer, Diego will give more and more information about who's going to be there, and the specific like sessions and panels and things. Do your research on the people who are going to be there. Have questions in advance. Have kind of an idea of what you're hoping to get out of it, and conversations you might want to have. But I would think most sessions will have some sort of Q&A, or there will certainly be one or more Q&A opportunities. So have your questions ready. Be prepared. Be the first one to ask a question and start the conversation. So that's what I would say. That's what I would tell you. Let's see. Grace, are you currently casting anything new, or do you know of any faith-based projects casting right now that you personally recommend? I don't know of any actively casting. I've heard that 5 and 2, which is, Dallas Jenkins studio, The Chosen is a part of that, but it's now the broader 5 and 2 studios. I think I've heard that they're doing some casting for one of their next projects. Someone told me, Gloria, I don't remember who they said the casting director was, but I'll try to see if I can find more information and maybe get it to you. I don't know others that are actively casting right now. I hear about projects that are either already getting ready to shoot. Ken Carpenter's doing a project that's getting ready to shoot. And, most of these companies have lots of projects in development at various stages. So as far as specifically knowing, I don't. I am working on a project. It's a Bible period piece. So it's going to be somewhat narrow in what I'm looking for, because again, it's in the biblical times, and so it's mostly the Middle Eastern, Mediterranean look and feel. But that is something we're working on right now. Our first approach on that project is actually casting overseas, because it is going to shoot overseas. So unlike most of my projects where the majority of the casting is here in the US, this one's a little different in that our primary reach is for the UK and Europe initially. So that's not a project that is going to be broadly an opportunity, but you know, there's lots of other things on the horizon, and I am taking some time to dive into the development on this other project. I don't mean that to say that I'm stepping away from casting or anything, but I am taking the opportunity as I have it to kind of spend some time in there. And so, yeah, I'll tell you more as that develops, but it's in the very, very beginning stages of that. So I don't have much right now that pertains to, that down the road. But when we get that going and we're casting for that, I'll tell you all about it for sure. Linda, I agreed to do a show once that I had a check in my spirit about. It was brutal because it was not supposed to be me doing the role. So hard, and learned a lot because of it. I'm always extra careful now. Yeah, I think sometimes we learn through making the mistakes, right? But sometimes our mistakes are not for lack of due diligence and trying our best, but sometimes we just realize we got it wrong, or we weren't quite listening to the right voices, or we might have, for me, sometimes it's I rush into things, it's like when I should stop and seek counsel, I just, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then I realize, oh man, I don't think I was supposed to do this. So yeah. On the opposite side, I did a film. I think I may have shared this before, but I did a film that I prayed about. I sought counsel of trusted colleagues, of non-industry people. I really, really kind of struggled, and not so much struggle, but I worked really hard to seek wisdom and to make the right decision. I ultimately chose to do it. And it turned out that the producers put something into it that was very offensive spiritually. It was not a faith-centered film, but it was kind of a human journey through grief and loss. And they made a creative decision to put something into it that, quite honestly, was just shocking and offensive for me as a person of faith. I had no control over it, had no idea it was coming. If someone were to see that film, which I will not name, they may question, well, why did Bev do that? I can't believe she did that film. That's just awful, But I know the process I went through. I have a piece about the process I went through. And I have a clear conscience about it because I know the process I went through. So if someone wants to ask me why I did that film, I'll explain the process I went through and ultimately made the decision to do it. Was it the right decision? Was it the wrong decision? I don't really know. I do know that I got a letter from the producer afterwards talking about he noticed a difference in my process, in the way I do business, in the way I conduct myself. And so if that was the only reason I was supposed to do that project, then so be it. But, sometimes we can get caught up in what will others think about me if I do this. That's not really the decision. That shouldn't be a part of the decision-making process. It's really what will God think? And in that particular case, I did my due diligence. I did the best I could, and made a decision. And ultimately, I have a piece about that. So, okay, let's see. Yeah, Diego, regarding what to do to prepare for the creative exchange, Diego says, be prepared. Bev, as a coach means business. I do. We're gonna get in and do it and talk about it and kind of break things apart. So Yeah, and it's not just me, because the others who are gonna be there as well are the same way. Like, let's make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. It's not like pillows sharpen pillows. It's iron sharpens iron. We want to be sharp and ready, and the very best we can be, the highest quality we can be. So let's call that out in each other. Let's encourage that in each other. So that's what the creative exchange is about. It's about getting real, getting practical, um, being honest, having good conversations, honest conversations, and yeah, answering your questions and being as transparent as we can with the wisdom that we have. So, Sky, when taking on a role, hi, Sky, by the way. When taking on a role project as an actor that isn't faith-based and certain lines of dialogue use God's name in vain, etc., is it a big deal asking to change it to something else, even just one word, while of course making sure the line change doesn't compromise the script or story? I will always choose God first, and if that means losing out on a project, then I'm okay with that because Jesus is first. I appreciate that, Sky. I had an opportunity to coach with Sky, and we had a really good conversation. I appreciate your heart and that priority for you. I'm just curious if you think that would cause problems or would be a totally fine and normal. So here's what I say about that. First of all, you have to respect the fact that by the time a script gets to you or sides get to you for an audition, that script, that writer has gone through draft after draft after draft after draft. So really every page, every scene of dialogue has been poured over by multiple sets of people, multiple eyes have given feedback, and they've arrived at the version that they're putting in front of you for the audition process. So I mentioned that to say you can't disrespect that. You can't disrespect or disregard the fact that that writer or writers poured a lot of time and a lot of thought into probably literally every single word that's on the page. Now, having said that, when they're writing, this happens a lot in the audition process, because oftentimes the audition process is the first time that some of the writers or producers or directors are hearing the dialogue spoken by actors. And so a lot of things they thought worked, they realized don't work, that the line is too complicated or too chewy in the mouth. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it just doesn't flow out nicely or easily or naturally. And I think with regards to any sort of profanity, things like that, I think sometimes it's sort of just an automatic way that they write or do something, or their POV. If they're not a person of faith, then it's no big deal to them. They may not even have a concept in their brain that anyone would be offended or bothered by that. So it's not so much that they put that phrase in there because that meant so much to them, but that may be exactly how they express themselves and how they think. So to offer an alternative to that, if it is a very simple, respectful alternative, I don't think is a horrible thing, but you should be prepared that it may bother them. But here's the thing. You have two choices. Well, you have three choices. One, say the dialogue as it is written with the profanity or the got the Lord's name in vain. So that's one choice. Say it as it's written. The other choice is to modify it to something that you are comfortable with saying. Third choice is pass on the audition and don't do it at all. If you say it as written and in your spirit, that isn't right, then I don't know that that's going to feel like the right choice for you. So not a great choice. If you just pass on the audition, then you're definitely not getting the job. If you choose to do the audition and make a minor change, they may respond and say, I'm offended that you changed my dialogue and you're a wimpy Christian and you need to live in the real world. I don't know that that's what they'll say, but you know what I mean? They may have an adverse effect to the fact that you didn't feel comfortable or didn't want to say those certain words or a certain phrase, and that may offend them. And or if it doesn't offend them, they may just not appreciate it and think that you wimped out and it's no big deal. And why didn't you just say it the way it was written? So if that's the case, then you're not going to get the job and it wasn't yours to get because you did what you felt honored God and they didn't receive it well and you didn't get the job. But it's possible that they won't be bothered by it, that they're not too married to that particular phrase, and that the rest of your performance and the rest of what you bring to the table is so compelling to them that you can have a conversation with them, or you can explore what it might look like to be a part of the project. And they may respect your decision and realize that you're bringing the kind of performance that doesn't need that phrase in there to be powerful or impactful or meaningful to get their point across. As long as you are able to express the same intention, the same intensity that whatever those phrases or words were in the script to bring into the moment, there are other ways to bring those without maybe saying those exact words. So 3 different choices. Compromise what is a boundary for you is one choice and just do it the way it's written. Probably won't feel comfortable with that. Do it, modify it a little bit, and you have a 50-50 chance that they'll say no thank you, or a 50% chance that they'll say, that's okay, doesn't bother me, they're amazing, let's keep looking at them. Or you choose not to do the audition, in which you have a 100% chance you're not going to get the role. So that's how I look at it. You can't control their response. You can only control what you choose to do with it. If you are not going to be in a film where you have to take the Lord's name in vain or do profanity or whatever, whatever your boundaries are, because each of your boundaries are individual. Some people are okay with certain profanity depending on the bigger picture of the story and the theme. Some people are not, absolutely not. And it is not for one person to judge another about those boundaries. That is a decision you make between you and God, and again, those in your inner circle who you seek to get wisdom and insight from, but God most of all. And so I think that if you have no intention of doing a film like that, I would tell you to look at the greater kind of broader project. Who's the filmmaker? What are the kinds of projects they typically do? Do they have a lot of the edgy material? Do they have a lot of the objectionable content? Then you might find yourself, maybe initially it's like, it's okay. But then in the moment, you might find yourself pressured to do something that makes you uncomfortable. And so do your research on things like that, not just the script in front of you, but the whole script. And then the tone, the type, the style of filmmaking for those filmmakers. Michelle, Hi. I came across your website and saw that you do lives on Tuesday. Welcome. You're now part of the Let's Talk Tuesday family. I love that you've cast faith-based as well as secular. Used to work in entertainment, felt to take a step back to pursue my relationship with the Lord. That's never a bad decision. That's always time spent. Really seeking him, find my identity. It's been a beautiful journey. I'm glad. That's wonderful. And that, I'm sure that was a hard decision too, to step back from something that you've probably put a lot of time and poured yourself into, to make a choice to step back for, to deepen that relationship with the Lord and to kind of ground yourself. I'm sure that was a hard decision, but it's awesome that you did that. He recently released me to pursue a career as an actress and a singer. I had a question I wanted to ask for someone who is not yet represented. Let's see. I'm guessing there's going to be a question. Let's see. Yeah, Diego, obedience to Jesus is greater than others. Sharp pillows. Yeah, let's be sharp pillows. That'll be awesome. Okay, so Michelle, I think you have another part of the question, so I'm looking for that. Let's see. For someone who's unrepresented, let me just kind of speak to that in general. You have to do a lot of work on your own. You have to be your own representative. You have to be the one who's proactively networking, learning all you can about who's doing the projects, the kinds of projects you want to be a part of. What are the opportunities where you can meet them, where you can connect with them? That's Creative Exchange is one of those things. What are all the places where you can kind of get yourself out there, whether it's Actors Access or Casting Networks or, any of those submission service. You've got to be your own agent. And just like an agent would wake up in the morning and their job that day was to be an agent, your job is to be your own agent and to treat it like that, with that much focus and that much drive and passion, and create your own content. That's what I would say. Start creating. I have many friends who, put out their own EPs as singers and make their own films and, film scenes and things like that. So you just got to be really proactive until the point where you build up enough that you can attract representatives and attract agents. So that's what I would say. Valerie says regarding the modifying Sky's question about modifying the dialogue if it's offensive. Valerie, we usually modify the words if it's minor. If that means we don't get it, then so be it. And that's exactly that's exactly what I would encourage you. At that point, do what you feel is right and then release it. And don't go in your head, I shouldn't have, all of that. Just, it goes back to that peace thing again. Just be anxious about nothing. With thanksgiving, prayer, and petition, and then release it. Let's see. Kylie Levine. Hi, Kylie. So good to see you. Going through that now. I booked a job, didn't get the entire script till afterwards. I'm supposed to say the Lord's name. I'm going to talk to the director respectfully next week about perhaps changing the word. Yeah, see, unless there's a very compelling reason why they won't give you the full script, certainly by a callback session, you should have access to the full script. If it's a SAG project, they're required to give you access to the script. Unless, again, there's, an NDA or some super secret Marvel project or something like that. But usually you should have access to the script. So, and that's, Kylie, you're giving the exact example of what I was talking about. You're in a tough place. I'm sorry that you have to go through that. But the right thing is still the right thing. So if you know that that crosses a line, that is a boundary for you, then speak to them about it. It sounds like I can already tell when you say, I'm going to talk to the director respectfully. That's exactly the approach. Humility, not haughtiness or holier than thou or, kind of righteous indignation. None of that, just humility, and help them understand why it's important to you. Let's see. Okay, so it's been an hour. Yeah, Rod, what you say, I don't use the Lord's name in vain in real life, so I think it would be really hard for me to even act or say it in an audition. It's so true, because I've looked at projects that I would potentially, that someone's saying, would you cast this? And I'm realizing, like, I can't even be like the reader on this because it just wouldn't feel right. I can't speak that way. So yeah, I do think, but it's different for every single person. It absolutely is different for every single person. I'm not casting judgment. Each of us, because I'm in the same boat, make those decisions. It's when we lay our head on the pillow at night, it's us and God, and that's what matters most. So let's see. But I'm wondering if, as an actor, when we don't say what is written as in an audition, could we be blacklisted? You know what? We can't live in fear. Again, I go back to the right thing is the right thing. So if it's the right thing for you to not say the Lord's name in vain, then it doesn't matter if you'll get blacklisted, because it's still the right thing to do. So again, you're back at that choice of, I'm not going to audition at all because I don't want to do this, which is a choice, a legitimate choice, or I'm going to do the audition and I'm going to change it and then let it be. If they blacklist me, they blacklist me. But whether they will or won't blacklist you shouldn't honestly change what you feel in your spirit is the right thing to do based on what you feel like God is telling you and calling you to do and be within the industry. So that's what I would say. That's not really for you to worry about. Just do what you feel like God's called you to do. Do it the way you feel like honors God, with your gifting, with your talents, and let the rest be what it is. So, okay. I'm going to sign off for tonight. And next Tuesday, you're going to laugh at where I'm going to be. I have guests. Ben and I have guests coming in, out of town guests coming in. And on next Tuesday, we are taking them to the rodeo. So next Tuesday, I will not be here because we are going to be watching some horses and some wranglers and some, I don't know, barrel racing, all kinds of stuff. We will be at the rodeo with our cowboy hats on, and I got a new pair of cowboy boots when I went to Nashville last time, so I'll be wearing those, and I'll tell you all about it when I get back. So I may not see you actually for 2 weeks, but I'll talk to Diego about whether we're going to just take a pass for a couple weeks or schedule in some replacements or substitutes who will probably be even more interesting for you. But I love you guys. You're always on my heart and my mind, and I will see you in a few weeks. A big yeehaw. I'll be thinking of you next Tuesday, and love and appreciate you, and just so glad that we have this time together. That sounds like Carol Burnett, a little yank on the earlobe. So anyway, okay, love you guys. See you in a few weeks. Have a great couple of weeks. Bye.
Okay, let's go.